Good evening. All right, so we've got the 100-day challenge we've been talking about, and it's really not a challenge, it's a change. So if you think of it that way, you're taking that 100 days to change the way you're thinking about your life. So the definition of change is defined as an act or an instance of making or becoming different. So over these 70 plus days we're on now, I guess, what have you done to start that change? Have you followed the Neville, the 2 hours of service, the praying, the reading, the studying, the coming to worship and doing your own goal? Have you done that? Well, change is very difficult. If you're trying to change habits, your attitudes, jobs, you might have to move your health, relationships. There's so many things that can change or cause change that makes it difficult in your life. But why is it difficult? Because there's an element of what? Pain, right? It's painful. Now you think, good change, how can that be painful? So say you get a new job and you have to move. Well, you have to leave your church family. That could be painful. You have to move from your friends, maybe possibly your parents. It's just a lot of different things that you don't really think about that can cause you pain. And that's why we put it off or avoid it, because of the pain, right? No one wants to experience that pain of making the change. There's a couple of examples in the Bible that we'll talk about real quick. In Genesis 12, starting in verse 1. Now the Lord said to Abraham, "Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land I will show you." That's a change. But here's what God promises. "I will make a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. And you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed." Number 2, in Matthew 19, starting in verse 16. "Now behold, one came and said of him, 'Good teacher, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life?' So he said to him," and this is the young rich man, he said to him, 'Why do you call me good? No one is good but the one that is God. But if you want to enter into life, keep the commandments.' He said, 'Which ones?' Jesus said, 'You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, honor your father and mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself.' The young man said, 'All these things I have kept from my youth. What do I still lack?' Jesus said to him, 'If you want to be perfect, go sell what you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasures in heaven, and come follow me.' But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions." So you think about it. Abraham gets a blessing. This gentleman gets a blessing as well. But what does this gentleman do? We don't really know. We don't hear any more about him. So he didn't accept the challenge. He didn't make the change. So those are the things we can think about when we come to making a change. Now, the challenge of change I would like to get to is thinking about our faith. Will it be part of our lives or become our lives? Did you hear that? Will it be part of our lives or become our lives? So what's the difference? Part, we control it. When it becomes our life, Christ controls it. An example of part would be just showing up on a Wednesday night or Thursday night, just doing your part to keep your membership active, not really doing anything different. To make it full or become your life, we have to have that belief and that feeling that we cannot do anything enough to please God. What more can we do to help better him and give him the glory. To get to the faith becomes our life. We're going to feel the pain, as I mentioned before. We have to remove ourselves and focus our decision-making on Christ and focus on what we live for to serve others. That's going to be hard for a lot of us, myself included. People do not mind if religion is part of your life, right? If it's part of your life, they're okay with it. But when it is your life, that's when people get upset and try to convince you of other things. So we've got a couple of scriptures that help us along the way to talk about that. In Matthew chapter 5, starting in verse 6, it's part of the Beatitudes. It says, "Blessed are those who hunger for thirst of righteousness, for they will be filled." And then in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 and 8, "I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. Finally there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give to me on that day, and not to me only, but also to all who have loved his appearing." So if you think about it, when our life is at peace, that's when our faith is the strongest. And in the second verse, we have no fear of death because we're living our life in a way that we need to live it. So how are we going to know things are changing and how things are changing in yourself? Well, first of all, you got to look at yourself and change yourself. I mean, there's really nothing that I can say to you today. If you study the Word and live by the Word, that will change you. But you have to make the choice. It's not me. It's not the eldership. It's you as an individual. And even to the young children here as well. You can make the right decision of not to do the wrong things, but to do the right things. But here's a couple of examples. If you think about that, like we talked about Abraham, he made the right choice, and the young ruler made the wrong choice. He said, "No, I don't want to take that opportunity." It was a simple choice, but he had so many worldly possessions that he was afraid, how would he be impacted if he got rid of all those? But you'll see the change in people if they're attending more worships, more Bible studies. The parents are taking their kids an interest in the youth activities. We as members are getting involved in the activities at the church. You'll see the change, and you'll see the people that are wanting to change and are making that change. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, there are folks that are probably doing that, but let's step up our game and do a little bit more. Let's see what we can do. But the only way that you and I can change is when we become change agents for God to help those in the world. This is the time where we talk about, do you have any need? We all need to change. Change to be stronger in our word, stronger in the word, stronger in our activities, stronger in our involvement, stronger in encouragement. We all need to change. If you feel that you need to change and you need help, we're here too. We have elders that will help. We have deacons that will help. We have other members that will help you. So don't be fearful to come up in front to ask for help. If you need to make that change, please come forward as we stand and sing the invitation song.